Anybody can be average without trying. Most people don't want to do anything more than they have to do. How little can I do and get by? Isn't there a magic bullet for this? Isn't there like a magic thing that could just make this? No, it's work. It's work. It's work. You can work smart.
Hey, welcome back to the Real Estate Excellence Podcast, where top real estate leaders bring real strategy, real truth, and real results. This episode is special. Our guest is one of the most influential people in Northeast Florida real estate, stepping into one of the biggest leadership roles in the industry while still running a high-performing office in the Fleming Island Caldwell Banker Vanguard. Her leadership motto, do it right, keep it real. That's the standard, that's the mission, and that's exactly how she'll lead NEFAR, the Northeast Florida Association of Realtors, in 2025. Please help me welcome to the show for the second time, Miss Kim Knapp.
Hey, thank you for having me. I appreciate the opportunity.
This is episode 311. You were on episode 111, so exactly 200 episodes, whatever that means there. Appreciate you coming on, and we're going to dig in. This is going to be a jam-packed episode for any of the agents in Northeast Florida, what your goals are this year. We'll clarify some insight. We're going to talk about AI, as we just talked about a little bit, but clarify everybody, what's the mission? So I guess you're kind of an opening statement, just, let's talk about NEFAR, and, what are your goals? What's your vision for it?
Well, first of all,
for 2025.
I'm really excited by the whole opportunity and humbled by it. I have an amazing leadership team, and I don't know that everybody, that's not lip sync. Anybody who knows me, I don't say things to hear myself talk. If I don't say it if I don't mean it. And we really are working together as one cohesive team, recognizing that, I'm going to be moving on shortly, and then Gonzalo will be president. And, so we want the same mission and overall attitude just to continue. But we got some, for me, I got the do it right, keep it real. And part of that do it right for me is not just doing the right thing when people are looking or not looking, but you have to have a right way of doing things. And we've got an incredible team this year in every leadership level, and we're working on what I call like having a football, right? You can pass the football on to somebody else, whether I'm passing a football to Gonzalo going, oh, here's all the things you need to have in mind, or someone in RPAC, or somebody who's leading the Southwest Council, whatever that is, trying to begin to build systems in place, because they're all volunteer leaders, which is really, incredible, the work they do. But also, one of my initiatives is really reaching out to the top producers. So we have a special thing coming up in March. So those of you who need to be watching for it, it's called the Top 5 Forum. And we're inviting the top 5% of our local market and production to a special event. We have an economist coming from NEFAR. We have Dan Elzer coming in, who is an incredible coach, speaker, business coach, and company brokerage coach, because these are people who are performing at a high level, maybe leading teams or companies. And they're really the biggest users, right? The biggest contributors, but oftentimes they're not really connected, or do they feel valued?
Or sometimes they're just so busy they can't oftentimes contribute. Yeah.
But they don't know what the opportunities are. Mm-hmm. And just being in their shoes, I understand it. And when I was on the outside, I'm like, what does NEFAR do? I'm not really sure. It wasn't until I got involved that I recognized what they do. But again, also just making them feel valued as well. So it's a breakfast. We've got great information that is totally geared towards that audience. So be looking.
Yeah, no, that sounds very interesting, because sometimes they are so busy going with their business, they don't have time to go to the different meetings, and they often are not heard because they just are moving on to their next, just moving so fast. And so now you have an opportunity to let them have a few moments to hear what some of their pains are, or whatever, what help they think, or how the industry could get better. It's funny, I use ChatGPT to research and help me create some questions, and this is it listed it as number 15 on here, but I think this is relevant to what we're talking about right here. It says, finish the sentence. The future of Northeast Florida real estate belongs to agents who blank. The future of Northeast Florida real estate agents Florida real estate belongs to agents who.
I know what comes to mind initially, you know, I could say this and to define what I think it means in my brain. And it's those who dig in and participate. First of all, it's a team sport. You know, I just had 110 people I installed yesterday in our market, brand new realtors. And I said, you need two sets of people to be successful in this industry, and that is customers and other realtors. Right? So it's a team sport. We need that. But this business is evolving, and we need to know what's going on. You just can't go get in a hole somewhere and hide or in a silo. So you have to dig in and participate. This is not an easy career. I mean, we have like a 80% fallout rate. So, you know, people get into this and they saw their closing statement, thought this is easy. I like showing houses. And I'm like, well, you know, that's not really what we do. Right? We solve
Although someone might hire you to do that, though.
Right. You know, we solve problems at a high level. And,
right.
And, you know, the more you know, the more problems that you can solve. So I just think that with all the changes happen, I know some agents who have said, I'm going to go ahead and retire. They have retired because they're like, I just can't learn any more stuff right now. I don't want to do this. So I think who the future belong to, those people who dig in, learn what they need to learn, and participate.
You made a statement right there. They need to learn more. Are they really learning more, or are they just sharpening their skills? I mean, yeah, there's technology, but yet there's some great brokerages in town that help you a lot with that. I mean, you find the right people. You can find I guess maybe learning how to delegate out to people who are better than you at a higher level now than maybe in the past.
Well, I think it depends. I mean, you know, I tell the story about when the market crashed, I had 65 listings. Okay, so what? I could win a lot of listings. I was good at it.
Yeah.
You know, but I didn't win sellable listings. So just because I had grit and heart and could work hard, that wasn't enough.
Yeah.
Right? You get to a point where you can run to the end of yourself. And so just because you're doing well doesn't mean you can do well for a long term. If you don't have systems, plans, if you're not doing things on purpose, you don't understand people, personalities, pain points, whys, how do you overcome, you know, I hate to say objections, but false misunderstandings that you can lead people to be able to get it is what they really want. And so these are skills that evolve. I learn stuff all the time. I was just on a webinar with Alexis Bowen yesterday, and she said something. I'm like, I'm on it with her. And I'm like, hold on, everybody. I need to go write down what Alexis just said because I'm going to start doing that, you know.
Right.
So I think that we can always be learning. And then with technology, that evolves, especially you're running a business with what systems you can do, what can you streamline, and some things can be streamlined and automated. Some things can never take the place of being a real human in the mix.
Mario just had, I assume, a great year. Some of you are going to endorse this. He has. What are some things that he's left? Because the year goes by fast, so I imagine there were some goals or projects or so forth that he's left for you to hopefully either finish or continue.
I think it's overall just the overall things like, you know, live orientation was like something that, you know, that we worked on and we brought back. That was one thing. It's continuing things like that, bringing things back to the association and providing value to our members, just like, you know, doing that, you know, top 5 forum. So that was something we talked about, but you can't do everything at once, right? You have to do things, you know, over time. We've got a few other fun things in the mix that we're working on, and one of them is a cruise.
I like that idea. Maybe some
guests.
Maybe like bring some guest speakers on, and have some certain couple events. But
you get to write it off. You can bring your friends from the office. You could bring your person in your life, your family. It's going to be out of Orlando, like a Friday to a Monday. For our vendors, for our affiliates, for the people that. Okay, go create some memories with the people you're doing business with. Right?
Well, have some fun. You get some education. You're going to, I'm sure, get some quality people in there. That's a great idea.
And camaraderie is really important. Like I said, when you're doing hard deals together, we got to work together. And so it's just another opportunity to build camaraderie, too.
That is a great idea. Look forward for more details about that. What's one thing you want every NEFAR member to feel improved during your presidency?
I think, if anything, I'd speak with brokers first. Something that, you know, Mario worked on, and we've carried forward is the broker engagement, which is really growing, and we're finding ways to communicate with those brokers so that the brokers know what's going on and providing value to them, and they feel supported and equipped, but also just communication, agents, you know, feeling like they know what's going on, what's available to them, so when they want to access something, they can, and being able to communicate in different ways. You know, we're working on a whole podcasting
Yeah.
in space and doing more video communications like that. So I think being communicated with, and also having the opportunity to participate and communicate.
The brokers, you said that first, and that's interesting because maybe people don't often think that's probably why you thought about it. It's like, who is being left out? And that is training up some of these brokers. I had Jonathan Stein on before the RE Bar Camp, and I mean, some of the stuff that he's doing with location is just, amazing. And he needs to be in front and have those brokers. I mean, and sometimes you have to leave out the agents just because the brokers can really focus on each other, collaborate or whatever. But having people like him come in and talk to just the brokers and raise the level there, I think is.
Well, we have hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of brokers.
Yeah.
In Northeast Florida. I mean, I think it's north of 1,400 now. A lot of them are single, one broker person shops. But there's a lot of 5 to 10 people, brokerages out there. So we're now sending them a broker communication every month. Soon we're going to be adding slides that they can actually use in their meetings. Here's education, here's events that are happening, and maybe, RPAC wins. Everybody hears RPAC and they go, but I'm just telling you, I don't have any neighbors in my whole time I've lived in Florida that said, hey, Kim, we're having a gathering at our house. We're reviewing all the bills that might affect private property rights, and we thought we'd get together and talk about it and maybe take a caravan to Tallahassee. Like, nobody ever asked me, invited me to that party.
Yeah.
So we're the ones that do that. So, like, pay your $20 and participate and help us do that. But anyway, just all of those things.
Right. What do you think are some of the challenges right now that agents are dealing with that the association, really needs to take up and really research? Are they really issues, and obviously can have a positive effect?
I'm not sure how to answer that directly. I mean, there's, things that the association, has been evolving. We've gotten really from NAR down, which is really important that we're getting on the same page, where NAR is going, this is about our members. How do we be good stewards financially, which I'm going to tell you, if you're in NEFAR, we are good stewards financially. We do not, blow money, but that we are good stewards financially, and that at the same time we're providing value. And another thing is, I think is really great from Nakia Wright's been talking about, is we've treated like WCR or, RRC or some of the different institute, society, and councils that many of our members participate in, NARAP, just different ones, and kind of like bring it, like we're all under the same umbrella, and when people are serving and connecting in those groups, they're all really just a part of us anyway. So over the time, not NEFAR, but everywhere, and NAR and Florida Realtors, it hasn't been like a really nice play in the sandbox sort of thing. But from the top down, that message is like, no, we're in this together. We need to all be working together and helping each other. So I really like that that's coming down from the top. You
mentioned earlier about having, getting back to, or I guess Mario was having more of the new agent orientation in the office, trying to get everybody in, which, beautiful facility down there, great training room, all that type of stuff. What are some other things that you're doing to try to get agents to visit? I swear to God, see, my wife is the only one who can break in. She has to understand what I'm having. What are some things that you're doing, or do you see opportunities to create other events? Because would you agree? I know when I was at Florida Realtors and their training as an educator, they want people to come into the office, and there was this might be a misconception, but for a bit there, at post-COVID, the office wasn't so friendly to bring people back in. It's been a slow migration. Are you doing anything different, or just continuing what Mario had going on to get people to come in?
I would say it's a couple of things. One, so, you've got orientation back, which is a big deal. People are like, okay, why is that a big deal? Well, if you had 5 years of people that never darken the doorways, like they're not connected, they don't know, right? They haven't been exposed to anything. But we have our councils and task force are just getting stronger all the time. I am so proud of the people who have stepped up this year. Putnam County just had an event. They had MLS down there, so we're bringing it to our members too. So they had MLS down there during training. It was a huge success. They had more people show up than registered. Usually you have people that registered that don't show up. Right. Or you have another Southwest Council's getting ready to do a run walk, or you have St. John's is getting ready to have the property appraiser and some other people there. There's all these things that are there. It's getting stronger and stronger all the time. So we're bringing it to those local task force and councils.
Right.
And also, we've done this some years ago, and we're talking about how to implement it now, is doing lunch and learns, like at the beaches resource center or the one in Orange Park Resource Center. 20 people can come in and you can do a lunch and learn in there. So how do we bring that back to the members? Same thing down in Putnam. So it's not just bringing people to, everybody having to drive to, the association's main office, but to bring it out to them as well. And I think that matters.
Do you think making sure that it's organized, that value is going to be added? Because I think sometimes people have, these are great things, but then when people actually go there and it's like, okay, this was a dull, this person wasn't even prepared to talk, they just wing it from the seat of their tail, and they went, and all of a sudden that it just dies quickly because no value was added.
So with that, it's hard because when you have all these people, they're just volunteers, right? Mm-hmm. They're all trying to figure it out. So I kind of mentioned in the beginning, talking about the football and the structure. But the other thing is we have a key staff person at the association who stepped up last year as being like the main point of contact for all events and to help support all the things that they're doing and making sure they have a plan, a launch, marketing, like that, all that's going to be in place. So that was our first year, and now we're into our second year, and he has a call every single month with all those leaders. That's a whole different game than, like I said, so people volunteer and they're like, okay, and you start in January and you feel like by October you're done, it's almost over or something.
Yeah.
But you start in January, you really didn't get anything figured out till March, and you get rolling, and then it's almost over. So I'm just feeling and the other thing we're building that we started last year with Mario as we continue, is people don't just sign up to be a chair or a vice chair. They sign up to be on a committee. Like they are officially on the committee, just like you do at Florida Realtors. Mm-hmm. Because we want committee members that are volunteering to help so we can pull from that pool for a vice chair. And then the vice chair who was there last year stays and becomes the chair the next year. It's not automatic, right? But if it's always changing everybody all the time,
right,
it's hard to empower them to do really great things because everybody's just doing the best they can in the short time they have with the little information they have.
Yeah.
So that we're kind of changing that.
Because you're not meeting every day. You've got to have some time. And yeah, you're right. It's someone new coming in there. I just think about my CDD board that I was on for 11 years. It takes a while to figure out what's going on. And like I said, all of a sudden the year's over.
Right.
To have them continue.
If we can have where brilliant. You were on the committee, then you were the vice chair, then you were the chair, so you helped, you were along, you saw the plan, you got the football. Mm-hmm. All of them are going to get stronger and stronger, right. And we're already seeing that this year.
I'm going to change pace a little bit. Mm-hmm. We're going to go back in time a little bit to see. Obviously, you are influential. You're talking to leadership at the state and national levels and so forth. Where are agents still struggling with the post-settlement NAR, which was August of 24, right? Was when we had to go with the buyer broker agreement. Are agents still struggling? And if they are still struggling, what are they struggling with in that?
I think that we've all moved on now, right? Mm-hmm. We've all moved on. This is the new normal. I don't know that it's necessarily a bad thing, right? It's inconvenient without having that information available like they did in MLS. But the truth is, I think the negotiation part really, the way we're doing it, it works great for me. It works great for my agents. If anyone's struggling, it's probably mindset, the filter that they put it through. Mm-hmm. And I think you just have to stop. You just have to stop talking about the way it used to be and learn how to own the way it is now.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I think that's sort of the biggest problem is you get in your own way. And I always say, like, when I surround myself with a group of people to accomplish, like, a project, I don't want a bunch of people that's like, oh, Kim, you're brilliant. You're so smart. Yeah, I love your idea. Like, I want people that are going to push back. But at the same time, I don't want people around me like, you can't do that. That'll never work. Like, I need people around me that go, tell me how it can work.
Right.
How can we make it happen? So I would say the mindset of agents, if you're struggling with this new norm, you usually say, how do I own this? How do I make this work for me? And honestly, the agents who understand it are doing better.
Yes. That's the statistics that are out there.
It's just a fact.
They're making more money. I hear some of the conversations because obviously my wife's an agent that going on and how they're structuring or just, if you got two good agents, it just flows very fluently and they come into agreement and move on. And it's not as big deal as everyone was making it out to be.
Yeah, I agree.
Private networks, we talked about, we're going to pass on that. We're going to jump into AI. You wanted to get deep in that. And I think there's some agents that have gone, actually, what I've noticed, actually some agents from your office, some of our more mature agents are actually gone a lot further than some of our young people have. I was with some family over the holiday, unfortunately for a bad reason, but we were together and, they're in their 30s and, I'm in my 50s and I'm talking about AI and they're like, they haven't even tried it out or they just can't get their hands around it. I think they can't get their arms around it. My vision is there's like the dark side of the moon. And where some of us who have dove in understand there's a dark side of the moon. So we can't get our arms. We don't know what's quite over there, but we're reaching around it. Well, others still really haven't even, they're like avoiding it.
Well, here's the thing. I had some people say to me, so you pay for it? I'm like, yeah, I do. I'll pay that $20 all day long.
Yeah.
Because it is an assistant for me in all areas of my work and home. And if I can save hours of my life, let's start with that. So people are underutilizing it or not valuing it. I'm like, you would pay $20. I'm like, yeah. And I'll just use a personal thing. Like I'm going to go on to Montana on a ski vacation. Yeah. And I'm like, here's my 6 crock pot recipes. This is how many people I have. This is what we're going to have for breakfast. This is what we're going to pack for lunch. I need one shopping list separated by, department in the grocery store, go. Yeah. And now spits out, and I've done it before because it works. Yep. And now I'm going on my next trip, and now I'm just going to, I didn't have time to sit with all that.
Oh, yeah.
So that's like done in minutes,
And you can ask, suggest me some things that, obviously we got 10 people going with us. What are some other items that they may want?
And they totally threw that in there. Like, don't forget popcorn. You might want matches. So in your real estate business, if you're like, I don't understand spreadsheets, throw your database in there and say, dedupe it. I want all the first names to have a capital and the rest of the name to be lowercase, and I want the last name to be capital, because sometimes when you're fat fingering it in, you made it all caps and some you didn't, and separate the address, city, and, state, whatever. And it just does it for you.
Yeah.
I guess I would say this. If you can think it, ask it.
Or ask it how you should think it. I mean, the people don't realize you could say, well, how can I've created websites with it. It walked me right through going to WordPress and all the other things that, those guys use and how to do it. I am actually halfway through book number 1. I've decided to break the real estate excellence into a real estate excellence playbook.
Okay.
So I'm taking I have all the transcripts. I've loaded it into ChatGPT under projects, and it suggested to talk about open houses. I said, okay, pull me quotes from everyone, and we're going back and forth. It's my co-author and editor. We're going back and forth. It's helping me format it, but it's like it's right there. You ask it, it'll tell you how to do it. That's why I think, I see all these things on YouTube, people putting up, we make all this money. Those people have gone in and asked, how do I do this? And then it's given it. Then they ask it another question and a deeper question and get deeper and deeper. I think people are so, I think they get that commercial. I think, is it Geico or something? One of the people over 40 are just asking ChatGPT like they would Google, type of versus going deeper. And actually, I think more over 40 are actually checking this out, trying to stay in front of the under 40s. Yeah. The under 40s are mixed. Some of them, my kids are using it. They're like having it reteach their lessons. My daughter was using my computer this iPad the other day, and I noticed, in the ChatGPT, there was something about her science work. I'm like, what are you, going in there? And she was taking a picture of the worksheet and actually having it re-explain it to her.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's what it can reteach you. I mean, think about calculus. I probably would have passed calculus if I had ChatGPT to re-explain it to me other than the professor that I had.
Well, I mean, if you're not using it, you're missing out.
Yeah.
And you need to do the front end work, which is making sure if you're using ChatGPT, OpenAI, that you're telling it who you are, how you want it to talk to you. I'm like, don't tell me I'm smart. Don't tell me you like everything I say. I need you to, point out what's missing. in your actual directions in the very beginning, and there's we can't go to that here to personalize it,
Right.
but
There's a YouTube video on it.
Yeah,
If you go on YouTube, there's people that'll tell you how to do that.
But you really need to do that. But I was joking. I had lightning strike my house and my generator and the transformer, and I didn't know why the generator wasn't working. I had a headlamp on, and I had grok out, and I'm like, I'm gonna start a podcast, just a girl in grok, and I'm like, literally is like, flip this thing, flip this, reset that. I've got my Generac open and the thing to that. I was like, okay.
It was telling you, look here, look there.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, that table that you're behind, it was actually stuck because it does move up and down, and I couldn't figure it out, but I had an error message on the little keypad, so I took a picture of it. It gave me said lower it all the way down. It's in the safety mode, so it doesn't go up or whatever, and bam, we're done. But for agents, we talked about, and obviously it's in the news, Redfin, but all these people, all these Zillow, all of them are trying to, they know the searches are going over the natural language. Even in Google, Gemini is putting out natural language, ChatGPT, Grok, where people are going in and talking to it, just like you and I are. Yeah, I want a 3-bedroom house. I'd like to have a backyard with a fence because my dog, and they're talking to it. And now the AI is, these companies are starting to try to align, so they've come up in the AI searches. What do agents need to do and start to evolve with this?
Well, first of all, agents need to get better at descriptions and knowing what they're writing in their house descriptions. And I've said this for years. If your description begins with this 3-bedroom, 2-bath home with a 2-car garage, one of two things isn't very good: the agent or the house. Because I already know that. That's already in the data that you inputted, that it was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. Okay, what else can you tell me? I need some description. You need to think about how people talk. But really, that's just the beginning. You've got to get into the images where you're alt texting those images, and which is embedding words and descriptions. And this has been around a long time. This is not new. This works on Google. You need to do it with the pictures that you load into MLS. And then even there's a place when you load pictures that you can actually describe the picture. And what we have is either no description, 12753 JPG, right, or kitchen, right? Even those are descriptive words. That is an opportunity to describe. So, and that's just a little touching on it, but it needs to be way more purposeful and conversational about what am I actually looking at?
Yeah. Well, it's funny. Everyone's been posting the caricatures because ChatGPT's gotten really good. You can upload it your headshot, tell it some things, and it's created. Everyone's been posting those this week, right? And it just goes on to what you're saying. Have it evaluate all the pictures that you've taken. Have it, you've got your description, add it to, because it can think like that person from New York and what they're thinking about. If I got buyers from New York, what would they think are great about this house? You could ask it all sorts of questions like that, and it's going to add, and then have it compile a short form description so that those buyers from New York who are natural language, that's the language they're using, might obviously get hit on that.
Well, and you hit the point was when you're directing AI, you need to tell it what you want. I want this to be compelling, and I want it to cause people to act. My target audience is these people. I want you to write something that these folks, seniors, whatever it is, that they would respond to. Tell it exactly what you want, and it'll guide you through it.
Yeah, and keep revising it. If you get deeper and deeper, it'll get better. No, I don't like your answer. Your answer's too vague. It'll, of course, apologize to you. But again, they all started with listing descriptions, but now they really got to get better. You can't just throw it in there and have it spit out something, stick it in the MLS and go. I mean, you can, and you're likely to be found, but if you take a few more moments, you can train it to do it even bigger, better than you.
Well, okay, so what you're really speaking to is that there's things you can do, and there's things that you can do on purpose. And the on-purpose agents who are on purpose in how they put together their seller consultation, their buyer consultation, the on-purpose agents who know how to help navigate a seller through getting it positioned correctly, the on-purpose agents who put their marketing out, their images, those agents they're gonna always be out front, right? So it's all about being on purpose, and AI is just another piece of it.
Jonathan Lickstein told me something that he created. I guess his brokerage won an award, which I think I don't know if he was the only one spearheading it or the spearhead of the group, but they created some things AI, like for the brokerage, the agent can upload their contract and it'll proof it with AI first. So it'll catch all the little obvious things before it actually goes to that human that, you know, is checking on that new agent. And by that time, a lot of the things are washed out and they can go, you know, go to specific things, I'm sure. Or it probably is trained to spit out a report like, hey, you may want to check on this, check on that. So that person immediately goes to those hot spots. I was thinking, like, just as we were just talking here about AI, I said, you know, in getting with those brokers, all of them should have this.
Well, and that technology, I'm sure, is coming soon.
Yeah.
I mean, so I think it was 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Marky Lemons was here and did a keynote on AI. And there's over 1,000 people in the room or whatever, and half the people are like, what is she talking about? You know, right? And the other half of the people,
she was way out in front, and she's still way out front.
The other people are like going,
yeah.
What's this? You know.
Yeah.
And then fast forward 3 months after that, just 3 months, all of a sudden you're like, what AI? You know. So we're not very long. It has not been that long, but I think that we're going to find a lot's going to change. It's a learning machine right now. Mm-hmm. And the next 24 months, it's going to be exponential. It's all about the 1%. Now you have AI interacting with AI, which is just totally crazy to me.
Yeah.
But, you know, different AI platforms and engaging with each other. But I just think you're going to see exponential growth where those kind of things are going to become way more mainstream.
More mainstream, yeah. What was interesting, because I had Marky Lemons on before that RE Bar Camp that she spoke at, and she told me about ChatGPT, which actually had basically just a couple months earlier had come out. And she was telling me, so I went in and started playing with it. And I mean, what it's doing today, like the caricatures that it's doing. And some people getting my cards this month, I'm going back and putting their headshot in, and it does this little caricature of it. And it's picking up, and I'm looking at, you know, the coffee mug in front of them. I tell them it's with Keller Williams. They got a Keller Williams coffee mug, right? It wouldn't do that 3 or 4 months ago. You'd have to go in there and proof it, and then a lot of times you told it the coffee mug says Keller Williams and they're with Coldwell Banker, you know, line it up. It would screw something else up at the same time.
I think the leaps are going to be getting bigger.
Yeah.
I think the leaps are going to be getting, and you know, here's the thing. AI too. I just say this for agents as we're talking about. Use it for fun too. I mean, like Suno. You know, Suno's this fun thing. You go in. I don't know why anybody pays these people to write a special song on Valentine's Day for their loved one anymore, because Suno's been around for a little bit, for a hot minute. You can do this yourself, but tell the story of like when you're working with your buyers. Remember the green frog house, and remember the thing, and whatever part of that journey was, and what I want it to be, a country song or a hip hop song or whatever. It will write that song and send it to your customers. Do things that touch people's lives.
Yes.
You know, have some fun with it.
Yeah. No. I do. I go in the grocery store and I look at this piece of meat and I'm like, okay, how do I cook that? How long is that going to cook? So I go on, I just type it in, immediately tells you, do this, do that. It's going to cook for this long at this temperature, blah, blah, blah. And then I know whether I want to buy it or not, if I want to spend that time. But it's right there at your fingertips. All right. In the seriousness, obviously, a lot of the things that you have to deal with at the association and so forth is compliance. Mm-hmm. I think the question it created for me, what are 3 compliance concerns are the hot topics right now, 2 or 3 things that maybe agents are towing the line on, I guess?
Well, I'd say, compliance falls more under the brokerage, mm-hmm. right? The association is responsible for the code of ethics, right, which is a little different. Mm-hmm. But, you know, the compliance piece, so I guess which one are we talking about?
One leads into the other in a way, right? I mean, there's someone's brought up on an ethics, or, I mean, I guess let me reword the question. Let's go with ethics, since we're talking about the association. Let's go that direction. What are 2 or 3 hot topics maybe that are coming up or in discussion? How do we handle this? How do we handle that? Because obviously you're hearing it from the group, where individuals may not be hearing all of what's going on.
I'd say one thing that is tripping agents up, how about that?
Yeah.
Is the whole buyer agreement thing. Let me just kind of explain this. A buyer signs a buyer agreement. That buyer is now made a commitment to pay that agent. That buyer could go buy a house with somebody else. They just still owe that person, right? So what happens is first of all, agents aren't fully educating the buyer when they sign that buyer agreement sometimes on what that actually means. Or maybe they try. Sometimes people are just pencil whipping stuff, just signing it, electronically or whatever they're doing. Maybe they weren't trying to know. But we need to ask if people are in a written agreement with anybody else. Right? That we're required by the Code of Ethics to ask that. So when you're talking to someone, you just can't go, la, 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 oh, I can help you buy a house. Are you in an agreement with anyone else?
That might be a new question that should be added to the buyer broker agreement. The first thing is, are you, just like my HMDA questions on the thing, are you looking to buy another home while you're in process of buying this home? That's on the mortgage application.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, but agents need to be asking, and that's not new. That's always been a part of the code. I just, I don't think anybody was unclear on a listing. Like they didn't have to go to the seller who had a sign, somebody's sign in their yard, go, are you in an agreement with anyone else?
Right.
That was pretty clear.
Yeah.
But with the buyers, I think that maybe, not so much. So I think that that's really important.
So do you think it's come up that, and I imagine the reason why you're bringing this up is because there was a situation where...
Oh, there's lots of situations like this.
Yeah.
Whether people click on an online portal, the buyer clicks on an online portal and wants to see a house, and they sign something, they don't understand what that's beholden them to go look at a house, and, they had an agent, but they clicked on that. But again, this goes back to, and you can be the best agent in the whole world, and, things still don't happen the way they're supposed to. So no judgment here.
We're all human. If it's not supposed to happen that way.
But this is why you got to be doing buyer consultations. Not just are you working with somebody else, but are you working with anyone? But sitting down with them and talking about your services and the do's and the don'ts and how things work. They don't know. They don't live in our world. They don't understand. So you have to explain that to them. Don't go on to one of these online portals and click to see a house, because if you do that, you're probably going to end up signing something that's beholding you to someone else while we're already working together.
That's something I didn't even realize it's out there, but it doesn't surprise me. You go click on that, the listing agent sends you over something. You're basically signing an agreement to go see
the lead.
Yeah.
That's who it is.
Yeah.
The agent who bought the lead.
Yeah. Backdooring it in there. Interesting. From a state level, condo insurance is something I want to bring this up because I own some condos, which I think this should be spearheaded. But where are we at? The state came out in requiring all these condo associations to every 3 years, they've got to have their, they're calling it an appraisal, but the evaluation of the property, they got to have insurance that's going to cover.
Inspections.
Right. And I think it's really put obviously an expense on these associations, where really it's because of a high-rise complex, not the standard 2 or 3 story condo that's being thrown in, all in, just being grouped under condos. I personally feel they should separate. They should put the number of floors on there to make that required, because the 3-story condo, which was probably 80% of the condos in Florida, if not more.
Yeah, I think it starts at 3 stories, but I don't have the details of the legislation. We did talk with 2 legislators just in January about this. They're aware, and they're looking, this is how this is, like something's this way and then you overcorrect that way, and they recognize that.
Yeah. And
hopefully as they get into session, because we were there really early this year, they weren't in session yet, that there are bills out there that are, like I said, I don't have the details of them here, but that are going to try to bring that back to some sanity, because they recognize this has made it almost just basically unaffordable for people to keep the properties. And so that is, thankfully, that's recognized. And so we'll have to see what happens once we get a little further into session and what's happening with the bills.
I haven't checked recently, but I know the condo inventory here in our region went through the roof. And the fees have gone up, all these different effects, insurance, etc. And it's made it.
Well, South Florida, that's really affected, because they have a lot more condos there than we do here.
Yeah, 100%. What mistakes are you seeing in contracts and forms execution that are avoidable with better training?
I don't think
are you guys focused on anything there?
I don't know that it's one thing. The first thing I would say is, you're not an attorney. You're an agent, right? I'll have my own agents come to me sometimes, and I've been doing this a long time, and they'll say, how do I write up? And then they've got this little complicated thing they want. I'm like, I'm not writing that up. And I always ask them, who do you use for your closings? Right? Because, we have a preferred vendor, and most of them use that preferred vendor some, or some all the time. But there's other people they use. And I'm like, who's the attorney? And you better have one that you can talk to at wherever you are. Because if you don't, to me, that doesn't help me as being part of my team, right? And you need to ask them how to help me write this up. So that's probably the biggest thing is you're not an attorney, don't write legalese. But just in general, I guess I would just challenge people that this is people's lives, and you need to make sure you know the contract. You need to make sure you know the implications and you can explain it to people and you understand it. It really bothers me that if folks have a mindset of like, yeah, I can just fill out the empty spots, you know. But do you know what it means for the people
That's
you're working with?
from my side, when I get the contract, I know where I need to look to get the information to put it in for the loan. But there's these pages of, I mean, it's just a glob of words, and not necessarily. I mean, it's not really necessarily important to me. I've got certain lines and I'm taking information from, and you know, obviously the address. You know, what are the fees? Is there seller concessions? You know, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, if you're just skipping through as an agent and just filling in those blanks, you are setting yourself up for.
So I'll give you Kim's world on this. First of all, you're a lender. You'll appreciate this. I don't sell furniture. I sell houses. So they've gotten the contract under personal property, all this personal stuff. You know, they've written all this, the couch, the pool table, the thing. I'm like, does the lender want to see all that? You know, this has no value, right? This has no value because it can get up and walk out the door. You know, I'm like, can we do that outside of the contract if we can?
Yeah.
I want to know if people are married. You know, my niece Carrie had this happen with her. People in the market know her. She's been in real estate a long time. She's working with this couple, and they go to write the offer, and she says, are you married? They're both there. Are you married? No. Okay. She puts his name on the contract. She did not say, are you married to anyone?
Yes.
So, no,
anyone else?
They were not married.
Oh, yeah. I've heard this one before.
You know? And so 3 weeks later, we're getting into it, and all of a sudden we realize, well, yeah, I'm married. I'm getting divorced. And fortunately, very fortunately in that situation, it was amicable and she cooperated. But in most cases, that's not how that works. So you really need to know that, right? And making sure your dates line up. Oh my gosh! So it's like the contingency period is like after after the closing, or just make sure your dates make sense. Slow down. Ask a question.
That brings up an interesting, because obviously one thing I always talk when I'm talking to top agents is their growth, and obviously you reach a point where, okay, I need a transaction coordinator, or you and I talked about on the original episode, the assistant versus the transaction coordinator or whatever, and you're going that direction. Is there any training that the association is offering actually for those people? Those might be not even licensed, but it might be good that they know the contract as well, and to reach out and maybe create that. Just an idea just came to my head.
Well, yeah, I don't think we could take any responsibility for teaching unlicensed people, right? But here's the thing: whether you have an assistant or a transaction coordinator or not, you're still responsible at the end of the day. So if you're going to do that, and I encourage you, if you're going to grow in your business, you need to do that, right? You need to be able to leverage other people's time, but you ultimately are still responsible for the content of the contract. Also, I don't like blanks. Just don't leave blanks. Like 10 days of left blank. If you mean 10 days, write 10 days. That's just, I had to throw in that. I don't like blanks.
One of the other things, actually, this may take, this actually would be an ongoing project, actually. Jonathan Lickstein was talking about how all the trainings that they do at Location Realty, all of his lessons and so forth, he's kind of like the way I'm probably writing the book here. You can load it into ChatGPT. There's a certain way you do it and so forth, so that it becomes almost like a bot. So they can ask some really basic questions of all his teachings, all the brokerage's teaching, maybe Florida Realtors teaching, but it's all in there, and it's like you're the AI, the superhuman, that you're asking these real estate questions. And then if it's something like deeper, like you're not getting a clear enough answer to, then go. But where these agents who are working at 10 o'clock at night could go in and ask these questions of the master realtor of Florida. I don't know. That just came to my mind when we were talking about possibly training or informing transaction coordinators and assistants on some of the things, so that they're hopefully backing up their agents. If you could change one behavior in the average agent business model this year, what would it be?
In the average agent business model?
Yeah.
If I could change one thing, I'd say don't be average. That when I got into real estate, I asked my best friend who had been successful in business, give me some advice, and she said be above average. And I say that in your business model, like if you're a broker, don't be average. Anybody can be average without trying. Most people don't want to do anything more than they have to do. How little can I do and get by? Isn't there a magic bullet for this? Isn't there like a magic thing that could just make this? No, it's work. It's work. It's work. You can work smart.
Yeah.
But it's work.
Right.
And I would say, whether you're an agent or a broker, you need to decide that you want to be above average. If you want above average results, you have to be above average in how you approach everything you do. So I think that, what they say, go the extra mile. It's not very crowded up there.
Well, I think what you're really saying for that, I guess, translating that question that chat suggested there, is add something new to your business this year. If you're a 12 to 15 unit person, what can you do to get a little closer to 20? What's going to get you those extra 3 to 5, sales this year? Is it, one of the original book of my real estate excellence playbook is taking advice from all the people how to have a super open house, making an event, and how some of these agents are just steamrolling because they're getting another lead or, another client possibly in the neighborhood, whatever it is, but it's in the book. And so is it open houses? Do I get a little bit better at that? Who's having really great open houses and learn what they're doing? Or, there's 1,000 other things they can do.
Well, let's stick with that.
Yeah.
Let's just say that's what you're going to do. And then some agents will do one and go, well, it didn't work.
Mm-hmm.
Well, hold on, baby Sal.
Yeah.
One doesn't count. And secondly, what needed to be different? Debrief on it. Was it the day? Was it the location? Was it your conversion skills? Right? You can't just quit like that, right? You have to be someone who's going to dig in and figure out, okay, how do I make this work better? Because otherwise, if you just go, that doesn't work, you're kind of stuck in some poor me victim thing going on right there, right? Mm-hmm. With my agents, what we started to do is we do quarterly business planning, not annual. Not that you don't have an idea of what you're doing annually, right? But chunking that off 90 days at a time. And I have something I've been doing for years called a passion plan. And I implement that where you say, okay, what's something you want to accomplish in the next 90 days? Okay, I want to get more listings. That goes in the middle. Okay, we're going to write all the ways that you're going to get more listings, right? Say one of them was open houses. You do open houses to get more listings. Yeah, if you do them right, you can. Yes, yeah. Absolutely, right? So, okay, now you got that done. Which one are you going to do first? Now I need a list, 1 through 8. It doesn't mean you do 1 and then you start 2 and you're done with 1, but you've got to start somewhere to implement something.
Yeah.
So you have a track record. Otherwise, what you have is you feel like you're doing something because you have a lot of ideas and you sort of directionally try something and somehow you find yourself at the end of 90 days going, that didn't work. I'm like, no, you didn't work, right? You've got to come up with a plan and actually execute it. And you can do that with listings, or you could do that with a bucket list trip you want to take in your life that you sit and dream about, but nothing's really happening in your life to take you towards making that happen.
Yeah.
Right? So it's really becoming actionable.
Yeah. No, I love that 90 day. I mean, I can't remember where this phrase come, but I've had it for a long time. Plan, do it, review. And that's what you're doing every 90 days. So the year doesn't go by and you go, oh, yeah, well, I started open houses in the first quarter. It didn't work. So then I just didn't do anything the other 3 quarters.
Right.
Yeah, maybe open houses isn't your thing. I don't know. But I think moving the needle and doing that, doing something new this year, if, you're looking to advance your business or whatever it is. And we have many great agents here in Northeast Florida that are very open to collaboration. I will say with one rule. If you go and you pick their brain, take them to coffee, lunch, whatever it is, and they give you some advice, either you need to tell them point blank right there, I don't agree, that's not going to work for me. Don't just walk away and do nothing, because that just rips them, and then they don't want to talk to the next person. They're very defensive because I'm wasting my time. I've talked to 3 people. They didn't do anything that I told them to do or anything that I'm doing in any way, shape, or form. And you don't have to do exactly the way they do it because you got to do it your way, right? There was some good question. Oh, here we go. What is your, I think they call it, was it BHAG? What is your bold but realistic goal you want NEFAR to hit in this year while you're president?
Oh my God.
Your BHAG, right? They call it the BHAG, the bold, audacious.
I can't remember. I do. I don't know. It's not one thing. I guess it's overall, I want the members to say, okay, I feel like there's value there. I feel like I benefit from it. I'd like to have 200 more people at the end of this year because, a lot of things won't happen until we get through the year, right? 200 more people than we have this year volunteering next year. If we have 300 this year, I'd like to have 500 next year because each person interacts and relates to other people. we really do help each other. Iron sharpens iron. We really help each other be better. So if I could have, 40, 50% more people volunteering next year than we do this year, that'll make a difference. If I have agents say to me, I feel like I know what's going on, or I feel like there's value, because I feel like there was a long time, and we can all take ownership from it, NAR down, that we were doing what we were doing, but I don't think we were innovating with, how we were communicating with our members and getting them and then COVID came and that sort of just set everything sideways, right? So I think that that's what I want to measure, is that they feel valued, they feel like we're giving them value, and that more people want to engage.
I know you are well connected, not only nationally, but obviously with a lot of the leadership here in Florida. Is there a board, big or small, that you feel is doing some things that you want to steal from? There's is Miami doing something right now? You're like, oh my God.
We do that all the time. I mean, even on the leadership line,
what are they good at?
We'll send a video that they did. I'm like, oh, that was good. Okay, let's try that. Or we'll get like a data point thing that they had, and I'm like, oh, we should do. So we're doing that constantly, just like we do in our business, right? You see an agent does something, you're like, oh, I should do that for my seller, right? We're doing the same thing.
Right.
And what I would like to see happen, but I haven't been, if I were king of the forest, is I would like to do masterminding with these other boards of similar size or larger than ours, to have time just to really get in the weeds. They give us a little time at convention. It's like 50 minutes. And by the time you get over the niceties, of course, and I'm a bottom line, high D, little I girl. I'm like, let's get to it.
Yeah.
And, so we just don't get nearly as much as I think if we could just come together, even just on our own. Like, let's take like 3 hours and let's just share ideas.
A true workshop. Bring the list. Bring the needs and wants, what you can steal. Brag about, obviously, some things you think are great.
Yes.
And hopefully someone, is there. But there's some amazing, obviously Miami has some, George down there and so forth. And he's
Miami,
amazing.
Tampa, Orlando, I mean, all over down there. Suncoast.
But even some of these smaller boards may be doing something that nobody even realizes they're doing.
Well, this is a silly thing, but I was teaching an online class for a very small board, and the 10 minutes, so it was on Zoom, and the 10 minutes before they started to play a video. Upcoming, this event, this education, this thing, just like was a 10-minute clock.
Just like you were in the movie theater.
And I was like, I'm not doing that. So that's something we're working on.
Yeah.
But I'm like, but you're right. It was a small board, and I'm like, that's brilliant.
Yeah. If you think about it, you go into that few moments that everyone says to be there at 7:00 for the movie. They're there at 7:00, but for the first 10 minutes, for the next thing. Make sure you're signed up for this class we got next month.
What's going on.
Yeah, 100%. That's awesome. All right, last question here. We'll finish up. For newer agents feeling overwhelmed, what does do it right, keep it real mean for their next 90 days?
Okay, I would say if you're newer, first of all, you don't have to have all the answers. You just need to know someone who does. You need to have access to get the answers. I could sit you down and tell you everything I know for 6 months, and you would come out and know probably nothing, right? Because you actually have to do it and get out there. You just
know where to stick it to. I call it. Yeah.
It can't all just be in your head.
Yeah.
And so you have to have access to someone who can help you. As far as do it right, you know what? Sometimes it's hard to do the right thing, and you just need to do it anyway. And when you mess up, you need to own it. And unfortunately, in real estate, usually that involves writing a check, but that's how that works. But, you just have to be brave enough to do the right thing and just be yourself. And if you don't have to act like you know stuff that you don't know when you're new. Usually the other agents knows, and they probably looked you up if they're very experienced, because I get that all the time. I look them up, And it's because that person's acting with a chip on their shoulder in bravado. Instead of saying, you know what, I'm newer, most agents will go, okay, so let me just share this with you. And they'll start to help you. Mm-hmm. But when they know you don't know, it's frustrating. So it's okay to be new. We were all new. I was new, thank God for the people who put up with me. And there's a whole bunch of real estate professionals out there that will want to help you.
Yes. The best agents will put an arm around you and say, yeah, no problem. Here's what we need to do. You don't have to get the, because I think, human nature is there's probably someone over there in their ear. It might be their broker. Who knows? Oh, do this. And so they feel they got to fight for that instead of being collaborative, which just about every agent I've had on, and I don't think this will ever go away, but maybe you can put 2 cents into it. There are some agents out there, even some experienced agents, that are combative. And I always say, hey, you got someone who wants to sell a house, and you got someone who wants to buy it. You two, our job is to get them all to the table. They may not totally be like that's 100%, but you're 90% above of what everyone's wants and needs. That's an A.
Yeah, and I think that really goes back to that person personally. So if your own self-confidence that can't or lack of can't get in the way of like that someone hired you to help them. So whether it's that bravado or being combative or having to always be right, if you don't always have to be right. It doesn't matter, I'm not always right. But when you get into that mode and you're trying to work together and I'm right, well, I'm more right. It's like, who the cares?
Exactly.
We're trying to help these people get what they want. And
right.
Just remember, it's not your house. It's not your money. Don't be attached to the outcome and focus on helping people. Sometimes when you're focused on helping people, will end up in like they're not going to do anything or they decide not to sell, and that's okay. Because when you do the right thing because it's right, those people are going to remember and they're going to tell other people that you put them first, you weren't about yourself, and they are going to refer you. They're going to be champions. So if I tell people, if you're in this for the money, you won't make it. You can make a lot of money doing this, but the people will get in the way if you don't like helping people. That's like being a kindergarten teacher who can't stand kids. Like you will be a bad kindergarten teacher, right? So you have got to love helping people. People are under the duress of moving and likely under the duress of something else, which is why they're moving. Getting married, getting divorced, having kids, moving out, whatever. And so there's a lot there, and they get irrational, and we're there not to get attached to it, but to work together. We're the messengers.
Excellent. Anything like to add? Anything you'd like to add to the show here before we close out?
Anything I'd like to add? No, I would just say that the one thing I will tell you is I love real estate people. Mario said this at the installation, that real estate professionals are 4 times more likely to volunteer. And when he said that, I was like, you know what?
That's probably right.
That's probably right. And because the people who are really in this for a long time, and you've got the opportunity to interview a lot of people, you probably see a consistent theme of that heart, that they just really care about people. And so I just want to say that I love real estate people, and I'm glad to be in the tribe. Yeah,
no, I would agree with you on that. Deep down, they've realized the real path to success, or at least one of them, the cornerstone, is the caring about the people. And the more you care about them, as that last little segment, that speech that you just gave was brilliant. That's exactly it. And when they find that and realize that's it and focus in on that, success goes through the roof.
You can do it.
All right. Kim, I appreciate you gone. Do it right. Keep it real. Kim Knapp, thank you very much.
This may be it for today's episode of Real Estate Excellence, but we both know your pursuit of excellence doesn't stop here. To connect with the best of the best and really take your skills to the next level, join our community by visiting TracyHayesPodcast.com, where you'll meet more like-minded individuals looking to expand their inner circle and their personal experience. That's available at TracyHayesPodcast.com.